Hello.
Hi- Hello, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good. I'm sorry, audience, for the technical difficulties I faced.
No worries. Instagram is bugging a lot, especially nowadays. I went to a
Yeah,
live
yeah.
a while ago. You didn't see anything. So, hello everyone. We are now going to be starting our live with Mr. Pranto Paul. He is a passionate Bangladeshi climate activist and the visionary founder of Eco Perspective, which is a youth-led organization which is dedicated to addressing climate change and promoting sustainable practices. So, Paul, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fine, and I just got through a big holiday, and New Year is coming, so I'm excited for the New Year. How are you,
Yeah,
Iman?
I'm great. What about you?
Yeah,
So,
that's great.
I've already introduced you quite a bit, but can you also introduce yourself a bit, maybe?
Uh, Hello everyone, this is Pranto Paul from Bangladesh, and I'm a climate activist in Bangladesh. I am working for the climate change and the sexual and reproductive health sector for the past 5 or 6 years. And I'm the founder of Eco Prescription, which is a youth-led organization in Bangladesh working towards the climate change for the vulnerable communities and the children. That's all, a little bit short about me.
Wow. It seems like you've been doing this for quite a bit. How long have you been doing this?
So I am engaged in this sector actually for approximately 5 or 4 years, maybe. Like when I was a student in my undergrad, and I have completed my post graduation in anthropology. So from this perspective, I worked for the environmental anthropology. Then I came here to work for the climate change, and actually is it started from the region where it stays, where every time there are so many floods, so many natural disasters are happening, like almost every year. So this has inspired me to work for the community, for the climate change, and that's how I worked for the for 5 or 6 years, then engaged myself in various international and national youth networks, and now then I have founded Eco Prescription last year, and we are working with the international and youth advocacy.
Wow, that's great. So what basically, you've been doing this work for, as you said, 5, 6 years. So what inspired you to do this work? Like in Bangladesh, like what was your main maybe role model, or like what have you seen which inspired you?
Oh, okay. So the inspiration actually is comes from my community basically. Like when I was a child, like I always say that, as I already mentioned, the natural disaster happens all the time everywhere, and there is floods. Even when I founded Eco Prescription last year, there was also some kind of flood. Like I had to stop my project for around 2 or 3 months for the natural disasters. Like we couldn't implement our project in our community. So this is a fact actually. Like Bangladesh is one of the most climate vulnerable countries around the world, in specific for the global south. So when the natural disaster is happening, the youth actually can't get the scope to get involved themselves. Like as I'm an youth, I work with various network and international organization, but specifically I couldn't work for my personal skill development and personal like inspiration. Then when I wanted to work for my personal inspiration, I founded Eco Prescription. So this is a kind of inspiration, like to do something for the community and to work for the climate and to obviously to work for the SDG global goals.
Hmm. Yeah, as you said, Bangladesh is like a really vulnerable country. I think it's in the top 10 countries which are most vulnerable to climate change according to the Climate Change Risk Index, right? So, in your opinion, like Bangladesh faces like a lot of natural disasters, as we know, floods, which are also in Pakistan, and tsunamis, I think. So, what, in your opinion, what are the biggest climate challenges that Bangladesh faces, and like, how can Bangladesh mitigate them?
Oh, so the biggest climate challenges is for the limited infrastructure. Like the limited infrastructure is one of the main concern for Bangladesh to face the climate change. Like like we are surrounded by the Bay of Bengal basins, and also the geographically the Bangladesh has a lower land comparing to the nearest country India and also the Myanmar. So this is the fact that Bangladesh is facing all the natural disasters every year, and the first challenge is the infrastructural development. Like the government is not taking that kind of initial steps to accommodate the infrastructure. And second is, I think, the youth involvement actually. Like as I am an youth also working towards the climate change, the youth involvement is kind of a limited capacity. The youth can't get engaged in the development sector, and they also can't get invest in the advocacy sector. So these are the challenges, and also the participation in the global forums. These are one kind of challenges. Like when you will participate with the global forums, you will contact something. You will have a large community with the developed countries. So this kind of limitation make Bangladesh some kind of challenges to make one of the most climate vulnerable countries. And the most of the time, the capital city actually, the capital city Dhaka, most probably some days ago it has been indexed the one of the air polluted cities around the world, maybe rank 1 or 2. So like all the infrastructure and all the things are focusing on only the capital city in Bangladesh. So this is one of the limitations, I would say, or one of the challenges that the capital city is facing a big air pollution comparing to other cities in Bangladesh.
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenges we face around the world, especially in third world countries like Pakistan, Bangladesh, like the infrastructure really needs to be worked on, especially since in Pakistan, for example, 33 million people were displaced because of the lack of good infrastructure, like flood resilient infrastructure. So I think our governments do need to work on, I suppose, is like building a better infrastructure, which is at least flood resilient or like not in the way of floods, because as you know that like for example in Kalam where most in the floods in Pakistan happened, the buildings were in the way of like the river, so that's why it flooded. So infrastructure is like plays a big part in like displacement, etc., etc. So, you also mentioned a bit about the youth earlier, right? So, what do you think? What is the role of the youth in tackling climate change in Bangladesh?
So youth are actually facing some kind of challenges, mainly to get involved in the, like as I mentioned, the policy advocacy sector, like to take some kind of decision and to take some kind of overall things regarding the climate change and also some organizational development. The youth have a limited capacity to join here. This is one of the challenges for the youth to get involved in some kind of things, and also to get the scope for the work. Like I am residing in the Sylhet city, which is one of the like climate friendly city, so called. Like it has so many trees and all the hill and hillocks. But what I got from my experience, like when I was a student in my undergrad and my postgrad, like I wanted to work, but I couldn't get the opportunity to get involved actually. Like I didn't have some opportunity in my region. Whether I wanted to work, I had to visit my capital city, Dhaka, to get involved with the organization, to get involved with the things. So I think there is a limitation in here in Bangladesh, like for the Bangladeshi youth specifically, like they want to work, they want to create a change, but they can't get the specific opportunities. Like all the opportunities are mainly focused on the big cities. So these are the limitations that the Bangladesh government, and I think also the comparing to the third world countries like India, Pakistan, like when I talk with the youth advocates with the from India, Nepal, Pakistan, they are also like facing some kind of things like they can't get the opportunities to get involved from the regional sector. They have to go to the capital city to get involved. So this, I think, this will be, or this further in future will be a biggest like challenges for the youth to get involvement. So these two things, I think, most important, and also to get involved in the some international gatherings, like as example COP or something like this, like for the proper funding. So, like we are from the global south and we are from third world countries, and we have always a limitation for the funding, for the opportunity, for the invitation. So these are one of the limitations that we got a few chance to join this kind of global networks or network events, and these are one of the most like one of the challenges for the youth to get this kind of things of the climate change.
Yeah, definitely. Exactly what you mentioned about the big cities, like mostly the government focus or the climate focus is on the big cities, like the capital cities, like for example in Pakistan, in Karachi, Islamabad, Lahore. It's mostly the climate conferences they're happening over there, like and all the conferences, etc., the negotiations, the drives, the cleanups, etc. They're happening over there. But like there are children, like I've seen in other cities, like remote locations, like the indigenous community, they know like there's something wrong, there's something going on, and like we need to mitigate that. But of course, like there isn't any climate focus on them. Like I haven't heard of any um like conferences happening in these cities, like the rural areas, like even though the children, they do want to do something about it. So yeah, and as you said, like the policies, like youth needs to be involved in policies, which leads me to my next question actually. There has been much youth involvement in COP, but we're still yet to see youth in policies. So like, have you participated in events like COP, and like what's your experience relating to conferences like this?
Okay, so maybe I can relate it in a good way. Like I didn't participate in COP. Like actually, I didn't get for the. I'm working for the past 5 or 6 years. I am always applying for attending that COP to get some blue zone and green zone. But like this is the limitations for the youth, specifically from the third world countries. Like they are working, but they can't get access to that kind of conferencing or that kind of networking event to involve themselves, to create their own network, to expand their networks. So, but past year in 2023 and 2024, I went in some international event like the 10th World Water Forum in Indonesia, and also the World Water Week in Sweden. So they invited me as a guest speaker there. I spoke about the youth participation, policy involvement, and the water policies, also the climate change, obviously. So this is the fact actually. When you get the opportunities to attend from a third world countries, you can express yourself, you can express your voice, you can expand your networks. So my experience from the like past events, like first of all, the youth, specifically from the third world countries, are facing a great difficulties in the funding. Most importantly, like as a students, as a students, and also as a youth leader, like they don't have a proper funding to attend this kind of big events. This costs cost a huge air cost, accommodation cost, and also the visa cost. Like we always need a visa to enter a country. So it's also one kind of limitation for us, like about the stamp of our passport. So this is one of the fact that we are facing challenges from the youth. Actually, we can't get the proper funding to attend this kind of event. And secondly, I think like what I saw, like I didn't attend the last COP, but what I saw from the reviews that youth got the participation, youth were there, but it's one kind of symbolic participation, I would say, actually. Like they can't get access to the main panel discussions.
Yeah.
I think one of the main limitations of COP29, like I did a lot of reports and all the things. Like they got the side events, they can arrange the side events and also from the organization. But what you need actually to get involved the youth in the mainstream discussions where they will say to it high panel discussions, they will amplify their voices, they will amplify the youth voices. So these are the limitations for the youth. This should be like proper what should I say, like proper integrating of youth voices in this kind of discussions, like this kind of international event. Like, like for the climate activists like us, Iman and me, and also the climate activists all around the world, like COP is one of the things for us, is one of the biggest events for us, like to speak for the climate change, to work for the climate change, and to get a network with the various UN agencies and also the international organizations. But when you can get the access to speak in front of this audience, they won't know that what you are working on, what you are thinking actually. So this experience or this limitation, I should be properly mitigated. And also what I have already said, the limitations and these two factors is one of the biggest challenges for the youth, specifically for the third world countries, I would say.
Yeah, especially you really highlighted some really good points, like the third world country limitations. Like, yeah, seeing that you've been working for the past like like 5 6 years, but still you haven't been to COP. I've been to COP myself personally. I've attended two COPs. I've attended COP 28. COP 29 Azerbaijan, and I also attended COP 16, which just happened in Saudi Arabia. But the thing is, like, there are many youth in side events. Like, they're always speaking, and there's always, of course, the discussion youth should be in policy because youth is the future. Even it's said on the bigger plenaries, like if you went, but if you go to the Nizami Hall, like I have yet to see an actual youth speaker on the stage. So yeah, youth is like barely, they're mentioned a lot in COP, like we're doing this for our youth, youth involvement, etc., etc. But we don't really see youth raising their voices in the main plenaries, in the main discussions, etc. So yeah, that's a really good point that we really need to highlight and possibly like mitigate in the next COPs, like COP 30. So you've been doing a lot of work, as we know. You've been working for the past 6 years. So but like going forward, what are your future goals as a climate activist, or are there any specific projects you would like to work on next?
Oh, yeah. So my future goals actually, the 2025 is here, right at the next door for us right now. So I am like for the past 1 or 2 years after founded Eco Prescription, I worked towards the SDG 4 actually, combining to SDG 13, like quality education. We gave some leadership training, and we also worked like around 15,000 youth around Bangladesh. Like we gave them leadership training, we involved them in various tea plantation activities. But for the next year, actually, I would say for the next 1 year, my aim is from to develop a comic book for the children specifically. Like what I personally believe, like when you start something from a small scale, it will then happen to be large. Like when you see the various organizations, like the biggest organizations, they don't come up like, okay, we are establishing our organizations, our organization is kind of big now. It will take time. It will take years to establish your organization. It will take years to work. It will take years to get the higher level of your organization according to the decision making. So my future goals actually, like next year I will definitely attend the COP at any cost, whatever happens. Like I won't miss the opportunity actually. So this is my one of the goal for the next year actually, and also to develop a comic book. What I say, like we will empower the children from the school level, like for the quality education, and also for the SDG 5, like the gender equality. Like when we give them this kind of education at the very certain level, at the small level, then they will work or they will become the youth leaders. So we are currently like now collaborating with different international organizations and also the UN agencies. Like we work for the WP Bangladesh. We worked for the Save the Children International also for the last years. So these are one of the things like we are planning and we are expanding our network, and also we are working to attend like the various international network this for the next 3 years. We have listed the organizational or the event like we are going to attend. So these are our plan, and we are also involving our community, and we will also involving the youth leaders from Bangladesh and around the world also towards our network, and let's see what happens.
Yeah, what I really found interesting, the comic book for children, I think that's a really good initiative. Since youth, as a youth myself, we don't really want to read through policies like a textbook, etc. So it's a really good initiative that you're making it in a fun way, and that's what we're doing in Earth Warriors as well. So I look forward to seeing you at COP30 in Brazil as well. On the topic of youth, I'm sure there are many youth watching us and will be watching us when we post this live stream as well. So what is your message to the youth or anyone that's watching us right now?
Okay, so the message actually what I always say at any discussion when I talk, like start from a small scale. Like when you will start from a small scale, when you will start from your community, this will then go for the national level, then also for the international level. Like from what I say, from my personal experience, like I work from my community at the basic grassroots levels from eco-prescription. Now we are working with the national organization and also the international organization. We are collaborating with each other. So this will be my message, and especially I would personally say that you should also think for the next year that start from a small scale. This will definitely go large if you are dedicated and if you give enough time, and also if you can give a proper planning to your project. Like make a proper planning, then start from a smaller scale, then you will definitely reach the top of the hill one day.
Thank you so much. That's a wonderful message. Start from a small scale and then you end in the stars, of course. So thank you so much for joining us, Pedro. It's been an amazing discussion with you, and I'm sure our viewers are extremely inspired by the work you're doing right now. Keep being you, and hopefully see you at COP.
Yeah, absolutely. I hopefully see you at COP, Iman, again, and Happy New Year, everyone, and also Iman, you too. Let's
Thank you.
meet soon. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye.